Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Of Heroes and Men. Today I got another book review for you, The Wolf of Wall Street. This is the story of Jordan Belfort. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, Jordan Belfort was a Jewish kid from Queens. I think his like blue collar parents. Well, not really blue collar. His parents were accountants or something, but he didn't really have any money growing up. But he was an ambitious dude, and he wanted more out of his life. So one day he decided to get like Italian ices and ice cream and stuff, and invested in a couple coolers. And I guess he took it down to the beach and started selling them. I think at his first date made something like $400 or $500. And then he took two more coolers and made more money. And lo and behold, like over the course of his first summer, I think he made $20,000. This was in the late '70s, which is a lot of money back then. And I think that's how he ended up funding his university, going to college. Whether or not he finished, I don't remember. But eventually, he ended up taking his like Series 7 and becoming a broker, and he worked for the Rothschild brokerage house. But his first day on the job was Black Monday, which was like I think this is the second worst day in the history of the stock market. Then he went on to found his own brokerage house, Stratton Oakmont, I think it was called, and that's really where his story really starts to take off. I mean, this guy went from really this dude who was just the son of accountants to this hyper wealthy young kid. I think he was in his early mid 20s. He was making something like $50 million a year, something crazy like that. And the stories are insane. I mean, if you've seen the movie, but it's quaaludes, alcohol, cocaine, crazy parties they were having. This guy spent just obscene amounts of money. He goes into it in the book. He was married to a woman initially. I think she was something like a hairdresser or something, but then he divorced her when he met the girl that was on some Miller Lite commercial. And I think her name was Nadine. And he called her the Duchess of, was that, if I remember correctly, it was the Duchess of Bay Ridge, which is a neighborhood here in New York. It's here in Brooklyn. Anyway, that's not really important. The important part of it is this guy, I mean, he took debauchery to a new level. So much so, obviously, that they made a movie about him. And if even a third of the stuff in this book is true, I mean, it's insane, the stuff that he was doing. He was just high all the time. He was taking like 15 Quaaludes a day. They don't even make Quaaludes anymore, I don't think. Drinking, doing coke, whores, prostitutes, like up the yin yang. Like this guy he was basically living like every, I guess, teenage boy's dream in many respects. And he was just hyper rich. What ended up happening at the end of this story is eventually, because the way that he would do it, he would call the straight line system is what he was using, which is a sales tactic. It's a sales system, has a script and everything. It's very effective. I've even used it in sales. He was using it he started working before Stratton Oakmont. He worked at like this, I guess you call them like penny stocks, selling penny stocks. And that really targets like blue collar people that don't really have a lot of capital. But his firm started going after the rich 1%. So they started selling them blue chip stocks to get them in. And then they would sell them the garbage, the pink slips, and all the trash stocks to really get them hooked. And he set up all these like satellite companies to buy the stock and artificially pump it. It was called the pump and dump. So he was the guy, I think, that developed this. It was the pump and dump system. And they would buy all these companies up. And then when they reached their peak, he would sell short. And so all these people that invested in this company that weren't part of his little crew, I mean, they got fucked. They lost tons of money. It's not ethical, but it was effective. And all of the guys that he was training, I mean, these were like high school dropouts, high school graduates, kids that weren't really, I mean, he says it in the book, they weren't the brightest tool in the shed, the sharpest tool in the shed, but with his system, he trained them how to be top sellers, how to be top producers. And Jordan Belfort is actually alive now. He actually has a YouTube channel, which I watch. But anyway, push comes to shove, eventually he started getting, the FBI started, and the SEC, they started investigating this guy because there was a lot of funky stuff going on, but they couldn't catch him. I mean, he was bringing money over to Switzerland. He had like mules that he would tie money to and stuff like that and put them on a plane. And then, he had all these offshore accounts and stuff. But eventually I think they caught him Obviously, they did catch him, and he was sentenced to something like he served like 22 months in prison. But the prison that he served it in was like this. It was like a country club, really, is what it was. He eventually got out, and he was ordered to pay something like $100 million in damages to the people. I don't really know what's going on with that now. They claim that he's paying it back. Some people claim that he hasn't paid anything back, but whatever. The moral of the story is this guy had great power. I mean, this is like a world class salesman, and he even says it in the book. He goes, "I got greedy, which is why I got in trouble." There's a difference between ambition and greed. He was living in greed, not in ambition. And I think that that's an important distinction to make because ambition as a man is hyper important. I think it's really important to want to. We as a species, but also as men, like we've always looked at the horizon. We've always said, "I want to go conquer that. I want to go build a bridge over there. I want to see what's on the other side of that mountain, on the other side of the valley, or the other side of the river, whatever it is." And that's a necessary. That's why our civilization has advanced to the level that it's advanced. But I think that the shadow side of that is greed, is taking it and no longer wanting to advance something, but just acquiring more for the sake of acquiring more without having a higher ideal. And I think that that's what he fell into now, and now he's got a sales school and is very effective, and he's very successful on YouTube, and he's got a good following. And I think it seems to me, just from I don't know the guy, obviously, it seems to me that he is repentant. He's repented for his sins, and he's really trying to do it the right way. Because his sales tactics they're highly successful. They're highly effective. Obviously, he wouldn't have been able to acquire the amount of money that he did. And the other thing too is, this guy was a leader of men. I mean, these guys really looked to him. They were all really young when he was doing his thing. I think we got arrested 30s, maybe mid 30s or 40s. I think these guys all looked to him to be a leader, and because he was misguided, a lot of those guys ended up getting in. They ended up in the same boat. Now, you're ultimately responsible for your life. Like nobody, you can't blame other people for the way that your life turned out. Really, but I think it's something. It goes to show, like, when you have power, and by power I mean the capacity to impose your will on something. Whether that's through sales, whether that's through being a great public speaker, whether you're so skilled that you can command the highest income, whether your skills are so rare and so valuable that you can really have your way. I think it's important to have a good moral compass, and to make sure that what you're doing now is not going to be something that's going to hinder you later in the future. And I don't know if that's always clear to see. I don't know if that's... sometimes it can be difficult to really discern whether or not something is right, especially when you're younger and you don't know the ways of the world. Like, you don't understand how things actually work. You don't understand who can be trusted and who can't. Because I've been in situations myself where I thought I was doing the right thing, that I was surrounded by the right people. Ended up, I put myself in a negative situation that was difficult for me to get out of. Point is, I think as men we should get that book because it's funny. He's a brilliant. I'm not gonna say brilliant writer. He's a very good writer. He's a very effective writer. He's got an amazing imagination, and it's just a fun read. But when you hear about the stories, that the stuff this guy did and how many drugs this guy landed a helicopter on his front lawn, or like his back lawn, which is on a golf course, while he was high on Quaaludes. That's the first scene in the book. It's the first thing you read in the book, and so it's pretty intense. But get the book and just realize that this guy understood what was going on, and really now it seems to me that he really appreciates the experience. 1, 2, that he actually lived through it, but 3, that he can now live to tell the story of, like, you know what, I did this shit. You don't necessarily have to go this way. Um, and yeah, that The Wolf of Wall Street, get it, and it's gonna be a good read. All right, and then after you read this book, watch the movie because the movie's fantastic. All right, peace.